This is a situation where they understand that gold is, I think, the only thing that will inspire trust in a system that has lost a whole bunch of it. The mainstream, who is focused on stupidity like, oh, will the Fed lower rates by 25 basis points? And what's that going to do to my NVIDIA position? It will be completely run over by what's coming. And yeah, gold is the trust. And this is a system that most of the world has lost all trust in. So yeah, I think that's the only way the West competes, Chris, is to match them with some form of gold backing to a new system.
In a year that started with expectations of rate cuts that have yet to materialize, it now seems that the wait might soon be over. As of Wednesday, the futures market is pricing in a 98% probability of a rate cut by the September meeting, pushing gold prices to an all-time high. Spot gold was up 0.2% at $2,473 per ounce, after hitting a record peak of $2,482. U.S. gold futures gained 0.3% to $2,475. Top consumer China still has plenty of appetite for official gold purchases, despite pausing in May and June, as its bullion holdings remain low as a share of reserves and geopolitical tensions persist, according to a policy insider, industry experts, and data. Andy Schectman, co-founder of Miles Franklin, a precious metals firm with over $9 billion in sales, mentioned that we are at $2,400, even with the supposedly halted Chinese purchases for 2 months. This situation is emblematic of the market's participation. According to Andy Schectman, this is a situation where gold is the only thing that will inspire trust in a system that has lost a lot of it. The U.S. federal debt to GDP ratio, which has escalated from 52.65% in 1960 to 122.33% currently, further illustrates the unsustainable nature of the nation's fiscal policies. The United States national debt has now reached $34.9 trillion. Debt per citizen stands at $103,568, while the debt per taxpayer has risen to $266,953. The U.S. federal budget deficit is also significant, with the official figure at $1.8 trillion and the actual deficit exceeding $2 trillion. Schectman argues that the worst thing they can do is lower rates, as it signals giving up on ever getting this house in order. He added that all markets are shooting up because of the money created and poured into the system, whether it be gold, Bitcoin, the S&P, or the Nasdaq. This will keep driving prices higher, which is good for gold and the market, but ultimately bad for the country. Before we explore further, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to stay tuned for more engaging content.
Look, you got positive real yields, you got what appears to be exodus out of the ETFs. You got 5.5% interest rates on short-term treasuries. You have a strong dollar. You got all these reasons why gold should be meandering. You have a history of people waiting for the shoe to drop. When we get near, price levels like now of 2,400, yet through all of that, here we are at 2,400, even with supposedly, which I don't believe, the Chinese stopping purchases for 2 months. Similar to the show that I went to in Vegas last year, the Silver Symposium show, the amount of participation would have been, I guess, limited to the people who are the gold bugs, the silver bugs, the people who understand what's happening. But this is not Silver Squeeze. This is not Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, where we added 14,000 clients in 45 days, or in Silver Squeeze, where, it was 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for weeks, as people were jumping on that bandwagon. But I guess that is a good contrarian indicator. Again, as the price continues to march higher, no matter how many times they hit it, it keeps on coming back. Silver had a massive move last week, and now here gold up back above $2,400. So I don't know, Chris, if the public participation is a good indicator or not. It would appear to me that oftentimes a contrarian indicator, the more public interest, the greater the likelihood of seeing the price get beat down, and the less the public interest, it just seems that the market seems to quietly creep higher without really getting much in the way of fanfare. So it's probably actually a bullish sign as we head into the end of the year. He said, there is no means of avoiding the final collapse of a boom brought about by credit expansion. The alternative is only whether the crisis should come sooner as a result of voluntary abandonment of further credit expansion. Well, we're not there yet, or later as a final and total catastrophe of the currency system involved. We're heading in that direction. You lower rates, you have acquiesced once again. You're just going to reignite inflation. Yeah, the numbers they tell us are all fugazi. You can't believe them. Inflation is way higher than they're telling us. And this is a politicized event by the Fed to lower rates 2 months before the election. Um, and yeah, if they do it, fine. But I think it's stupid, and they'll never normalize their balance sheet, and it just signals to the world, why the hell would you want to sell us your oil or your commodities for a currency that once again will give in to inflation over austerity? And once again is rigged. I mean, it's rigged in every way, even in the way that they measure all of the numbers to gauge their policy decision, including unemployment numbers. And if they hired John Williams instead of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, maybe we would be able to direct monetary policy to right the ship. But what they are doing by giving in and lowering rates is the worst thing that they can do, and just giving up on ever getting this house in order. And it would start with stop spending. And the spending that we do is ridiculous. $100,000 per second is the amount of debt that we are creating. That's $1 trillion every 100 days, and not slowing down. So yeah, if you believe that inflation is where it is, I got a bridge to sell you. And that's why you take a look at all of these markets that just keep going straight up when compared against, like the 10-year treasury. When you're comparing it, all of these markets are going straight up. All that money that's been created and poured into the system, whether it be gold or Bitcoin or the S&P or the NASDAQ, all of these things is shooting up because of all this money, and that will just keep it going higher. So it's good for gold. It's good for the market. And ultimately, it's not good for this country. So yeah, they'll probably lower rates, but I think it's really a dumb thing because it's only going to make a bad situation ultimately worse.
While inflation isn't quite yet back to policymakers' long-term target of around 2%, it has cooled significantly from about 9% 2 years ago, the highest level since 1981. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, lowered its 2024 outlook for the U.S. economy by 0.1 percentage points Tuesday for expected annual growth of 2.6%. The U.S. economy is clearly weak under the current U.S. President Joe Biden, ex-World Bank chief David Malpass has claimed. Schectman said, "This isn't just about President Biden. It's about how our country has gone astray. The principles that made this country great have been trampled in recent years, and this incident highlights that." According to Andy Schectman, when we talk about gold and silver, it is protection from what is coming. He believes gold is the only thing that will inspire trust in a system that has lost a lot of it. Now, let's delve into the video.
We talk about gold and silver. To me, it is protection from what is coming. And when you see something as sacred as an election, and the ability to have a rally be compromised in that level, where I mean the most basic logistics in terms of safeguarding were wide open, and this happened. I thank God that he's alive. And I'll tell you something. I wish I didn't feel the way I did about it. I wish I didn't feel that this was more orchestrated than not. I wish I didn't. But I can't help but think either that's the case, or again, the people that are controlling the Secret Service is inept. I mean, inept. I mean, that's the only way that you can say it. How the hell do you allow that to happen? The one place where he's a sitting duck, you allow some kid with an AR-15, which is, you'd have a violin bag on your back, walking through the neighborhoods, climbing up on a ladder. If you look at what they're doing at the RNC now in Milwaukee, they have 3 or 4 layers of security that you have to get through to get anywhere near it. I don't know, dude. Chris, I just, these are the things that bother me more than anything. And these are the things that I think are probably more important than anything when you put together the mismanagement of the dollar, the weaponization of it, all of the things we see offshore, the lawlessness, the open borders, the questions surrounding the elections and the judicial system, this, the divisiveness, these are the things that drive me insane. I mean, to me, it makes me feel like these people will stop at nothing to keep him from taking office. I hope I'm wrong. I've said on so many podcasts, if you expect it to be smooth sailing between now and November, I have a bridge to sell you. And this to me is emblematic of what we should expect to see over the next several weeks and few months leading up to the big BRICS meeting in October, where again another 59 countries have expressed their desire to join the BRICS, and the election in November. And God help us if we don't see some sort of a change. And this is not an indictment against President Biden. This is a fact that this country has gone astray, and these are the types of things that I think define being astray. The fundamentals that made this country great seem to have been stepped on over the last few years, and this right is the icing on the cake. And I hope that we see maybe this will be the beginning of a rallying cry to find unity, to find compromise, and to get rid of this divisiveness that starts at the top and moves all the way down. So I guess we'll see, but I will tell you that I was really, really affected and saddened by it, angry by it, really angered. And I can imagine how this will be polarizing for people that are already angry.
Gold prices remain bullish and trading at all-time highs, clearing the May 20th high of $2,450, which opened the door for further gains. Gold is likely to eventually go looking towards the $2,500 level. And then, of course, we have to question whether or not central banks will start to cut rates around the world. Your opinion matters. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button if you enjoyed this, and subscribe to stay informed on our journey together.